Everyone. Today I wanted to talk about what's involved with quantum healing, and in particular I'm going to focus on an in-person session. So I get this question a lot and I answer it, I don't know, 10, 15 times a day. So I figured I'd take this moment to kind of go over it, an overview of what this all entails. So what is quantum healing? Quantum healing is healing your mind, body, and spirit through different states of consciousness to become the best version of you. It sounds kind of scary, but we're going to break it down. It's really not that scary. So, in this, we are connecting to what I call your higher self. Your higher self is that aspect of you that can see the bigger picture. Okay? Um, Everyone has a higher self. It's that voice that tells you, "Hey, you probably shouldn't be doing that." After I did this, I was like, "Oh, I know that voice," because I'd always argue with it. It was the one that says, "Shouldn't you be wearing safety glasses?" And I'm like, "No, I'll just squint." Okay, so we all have a higher self. Sometimes we get like that gut feeling or that gut instinct, or um, everyone has this ability. So in this session, we just get into a deep state of relaxation where we turn down that static a little bit more. Okay, so we mentioned working from different states of consciousness. It sounds freakier than it is, but you can't not do this. You go through different states of consciousness about 300 times a day without trying. They did a study within 60 seconds of watching TV. Every single person in the study was in a state of trance. If you don't believe me, try talking to someone that's watching TV. They're operating from a different part of their mind. Or if you've ever like spaced out driving, um, you're operating from that other part of your mind. You don't have a conscious awareness of what you're all processing, but you're doing it. Okay, so you can't not do this. Some people think, oh, I can't do this. Every person can do this. You can't not do this. um, and we go through these states all the time. No one stays in a fully alert state. No one stays in a fully relaxed state. This process does seem very natural because you do this all the time. You've done this at least twice, every day your entire life. Both when you start to fall asleep and start to dream, and then when you come out and you start to remember your dreams. Some people say, but I don't remember my dreams. It doesn't mean that you're not dreaming, but we just hang out in that state a little bit longer. Okay? Um, so some people have ideas of what it is, what it isn't. Basically, we're turning down that static so we can listen to what the body's trying to tell us, what the mind's trying to tell us, and to really move past anything, get answers for anything, and really nothing's off limits. Um, so yeah, we turn down that and see what your body's trying to tell you, see what your mind's trying to tell you, see what's hanging or you're holding up on or hanging up on. All right, so this isn't anesthesia, this isn't amnesia. Um, so I've had people say, "Well, I was aware that you were talking to me. I don't think it worked." I don't want you unconscious. Okay, we're in that state between being fully awake, fully alert, and fully quiet. So or like fully asleep. So we go through these states all the time. We just hang out there a little bit longer. Okay, this isn't mind control. Um, I can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do. I'm just like your guide in the process, and we're guiding you to a state where you can get the answers yourself. Okay, you're already doing this in your awake state, and the purpose of doing this is just trying to quiet that mind a little bit more to listen to those answers and not second guess them. All right. I also won't make you dance like a chicken or all these other stereotypes. All right. I'm not the another misconception too. I'm not the healing. I'm not healing anyone. I've never healed anyone. I guide people to heal themselves. That being said, this is extremely powerful. I watch people take this and just excel in all directions of their life because this is very empowering. And so many things take away our power. This actually gives you your power back. Oh, I can choose to be happy. Oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to hang on to that. Um, so it really is, it's all you. I'm just your guide in the process, and if you open up and allow this process to take place, you can step into the magic of what's possible. All right. I should point out everything is confidential. The only things that I do share with people were shared with permission, and I never use the person's name. Um, In fact, I've gotten so good at like separating separating these things. By the time the person leaves, I've forgotten it. I've forgotten pretty much everything, unless something is like wild and crazy cool. Then I'll ask them if I can use that. But for the most part, like that's what I have to do to be there for the next person. So if you ask me, oh, remember what happened to our in our session yesterday? I'm probably gonna say no. Sorry. Um, so that's just what I have to do in the process, and everything is confidential, and it's all for your highest good. Okay, and do not let any other person in the session for that reason. Some people are like, "Well, I tell my boyfriend everything." Yeah, maybe, but every person has these like walls and stuff and put up around them when they're with people that they know. So I had one person that wanted to bring their boyfriend. They're like, "Oh, I'm so glad he's not here," like because subconsciously we put up these barriers and walls and stuff like that. So to really get the most out of it, I don't allow anyone else in the session. All right. Um, so let me give you a little rundown of the process. Okay, before the session, I usually have the people prepare. I don't know, about about 10 to 15 questions or physical symptoms. So for the physical symptoms, I just have people list them, and then I ask the questions around them, um, and that really kickstarts the process early. If people have more questions than that, a lot of times they're redundant answers, or they're just like, trivial curiosities that really aren't in the scope of like getting the major stuff covered. So I'd say 10 to 15, 20 is okay, but after that, it's usually redundant information and they've heard what they need to. So I'd rather dive into those ones deeper and get better answers. People seem to get more out of the sessions than if they show up with 90 questions. And so going through the process of writing the questions is important. Just that process of, hey, what do I want to know, already kickstarts the process. So I get people that come to me and half of their questions are crossed off and I already know what happened. It's because that communication's always there. They figured out the answers before our session. Or physical stuff happens, like they ask about it and it goes away before our session. Um, so just that process of asking, going through and putting those questions down is huge. So I always tell people to start the process early because the wheels are already in motion. Okay? You get out what you put into this because it's all you anyway. So the more you put into it, the more you end up getting out of it. All right, I do about like 5% of it. The rest is up to the individual. All right. Practicing meditation and stuff like that also helps. I do send people, when they contact me, I do send the information so that they can go through it and they can practice some of these things and really prepare themselves for the day of our session. All right, then when the day of our session rolls around, I have people neatly write or print off their questions and they bring those to the session. For my in-person sessions, we usually do them at either my place, my home, or someone else's business or house or whatever they choose. I usually find that people can relax easiest in their own space. It's just like one less variable. But if you have 6 kids running around at your house, that's not going to happen. So I'm really flexible with that. Okay. Some people have businesses where they do massage and stuff like that, and we'll do sessions there and stuff as well. All right. So I'll break down some of the things. So when a person gets when I meet with a person, the first thing we do is we go through their life, kind of what brought them to the session, things that are going on in their life, what physical issues they have going on, and then kind of like their life story, whatever details they think are important. At the end of that, we go through their questions. A lot of times those questions have already come up because they're important parts of their lives. Okay? Then at the end of that, after we go through the questions and get further clarification, we take a bathroom break because when you do this, you're gonna be so relaxed that everything relaxes. So we go to the bathroom, and if people have to go to the bathroom during the middle of it, it's not a big deal. It's like you woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. I've had people get up and answer the door, and within 5 seconds they're right back where we left off. So it's not a big deal. So yeah, we go to the bathroom. Then we do the next part. It's kind of like you can think of it as a guided meditation, except where you're talking to me through the process. Okay, So the whole session is recorded, and that's a huge part of the healing process is listening back to the recording. So I record the whole session. You get to take a copy of that with you home, and listening back to that session is a huge part of the healing process. It's almost like fresh fallen snow. You get a chance to determine what new paths are created. Think of it like a blank canvas. What are you going to fill that space with? It's real easy to go back to the same things that got us into the situation that we're in today. But listening back to it hardwires in that new story. And yes, I am happy. Oh, I don't have to do that. Oh, yes, I can choose to be happy with that. Oh, I don't need to hang on to that anymore. I learned what I needed to. That really solidifies the work that we did. Okay? So, then, yeah, that part's kind of like a guided meditation where I'm talking to you through it, you're talking to me. We start with visualization because everyone can do it. Found out even blind people can visualize, so we start there, but however you get information after that doesn't matter. Okay? Some people it's a seeing, a feeling, a knowing, a sensing. And you do this all the time. Um, if I asked you, are you male or female, you're not like, hold on, let me look. Yep, definitely male today. There's that inner knowing, that inner awareness. Um, so um, the that inner awareness can also like carry over to, do you feel healthy? Do you feel young? Do you feel old? Okay, you can be the best visualizer in the world, but if you're in a dark place, you're not gonna see anything. Okay, but if you're like, this happens a lot with trauma. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, I hear footsteps. Oh, I don't know. So all those things are different ways to get information, and you do this all the time. Okay, visualizing isn't like a movie playing out behind your eyelids. Some people are like still trying to see stuff. Um, it's actually just imagining it in your mind. So if I asked you to imagine a special memory or what you had for lunch today or breakfast, it's the same thing, just picturing in our mind. Okay. So, um, and then we in that too, after we go through the visualization part, um, we connect to your higher self. Your higher self is you. Um, some people think that it's something outside of them coming in, but it's just something that's very familiar because it's always been with you. I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway for me was like, oh, I know what that is. uh, and then I realized that it was always there. In my sessions too, we put in a word or a phrase or a couple words that anchor in this state of consciousness. So if we were to do a session again in the future, we can just within a couple minutes we can just pick up right where we left off. Be like, oh, remember what we were talking about? Okay. Um, like I said, this session is recorded. The way that you're going to get the most out of the session is by listening back to that recording. And I do give you a flash drive with your session for you to take home. Okay, and if that doesn't work for you, I can get it to you another way. Okay, at the end of that, we go through and we kind of recap the session. Me going over the material is no exchange for you hearing it back the way that you said it. It's almost like a lock and key where stuff will just click. Okay. Um, there are some tips to have a good session. Okay, the first thing is to trust the first thing that comes to mind. The second you're like, I don't know why I'm seeing this. I don't think that's right. I don't think I'm deep enough. I don't think I'm doing this right. You're shutting down the process. Okay, just stay open, and sometimes it does take a little while for stuff to come. But if you don't know, that's okay. Just give it time, and some people it's 3 minutes between answers. But giving it that time and just waiting for that first thing to pop in is huge. And after you get the hang of it that little more and more, that time in between stuff will get shorter and shorter. Okay, it really keeps you in that flow state. I always tell people they can analyze the crap out of it later, but for the time being, it's almost like writing down a dream in detail. Just get it all out. Okay. I also tell people not to judge anything that comes up because some of it doesn't make sense. Okay. Um, if you're seeing, let's say, a naked man on a trampoline in the front yard, I don't know what that is either. But remember, we get to go back and ask. Oh, that was just showing so and so to have more fun in life. They got so serious. Okay, cool. So remember, we get to go back and ask. And if we stay open and allow that stuff to just come through, whatever it is, however crazy it is, we find that this ties together better than the best storytellers in the world could tell. It's always cool to see at the end how this is like wrapped up in a nice little package with a bow on it, because half the time I'm thinking if you had to come up take all these details and make a story out of it, it'd be almost impossible. But no, if we stay open, it all ties together. The next tip is when I ask you to see something, imagine something, experience something, do it in as much detail as you can. That really sets you into the scene, and I have no idea what you're experiencing either. So if you don't say anything, I have no idea what it is or what's going on. So the more details you can take in, think of it like describing the scene of a crime to someone. The more details you can take in, the better description the person has and can paint a better picture of what you're experiencing. It also puts it on the recording, so when you listen back, you can go right back to that space. Because this is like a dream and it will fade real quickly. Describing things in detail you can also make these bridges between stuff and start connecting the dots between things because you described it in detail. All right. So I think just get it all out, even if it's like small little details, because a lot of times when we do this, it's like we open up a book and the pages are blank, but the second we start talking, the story starts to unfold. Okay, so that's an important piece. Like I said, there are other ways to get information. Pull on those other senses. Some people are like, well, I feel like there's other people around me, but I can't see them. Good, go with that first impression. Okay? The next tip would be to talk, 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 and talk. I'm not in the dream with you, so it could be the most amazing thing in the world, but if you're like, wow, and then you don't say anything, it's going to be a pretty boring session. Okay? So, talking, even if it's like trivial stuff, because like I said, when we do this, it's like almost like a fog gets lifted as we start talking and more stuff becomes apparent. So maybe you saw like a red swirl, but you're like, oh, it's nothing, and you decide not to mention it. Well, it's not going to go anywhere. But if you say, oh, I'm seeing a red swirl, okay, cool. Oh, that's actually a marble. Oh, it's me playing marbles with my grandpa when I was a kid. Oh, we were at our old house. Oh, I totally forgot about this. Okay, that's just an example, but like things can evolve like that. Okay, by talking a lot too, it also like sets you into the scene more, and it puts it on the recording. So when you go back, you can start connecting all these pieces. All right. Um, like I said too, don't judge anything that comes up. Remember, we get to ask. And there are other ways, there are many ways to release stuff. So as we're going through this and you're letting go of some of this stuff, these emotions come up. Just about everyone cries. Kind of wondering what the neighbors think when a different car pulls up every day and the person leaves with like bleeding mascara like hours later. It's the same thing, okay? Letting go of that emotion stored in our body. So like getting that out is huge. All right. So there are other ways to let go of stuff, have stuff move. A lot of people get hot, feel cold, get heavy, light, all different sensations. It's all part of it. Some people shake. Some people think they're shaking, but they're not. Some people envision themselves spinning. It's all different ways of letting go of stuff. Usually a sign that we hit something major, and it's your chance to move forward from it. All right. So the other cool part is that some of these things actually start happening before the session. So don't be freaked out if you start getting sick before the session or start getting like, I don't know, just tired or all these things. It's actually your body's way of moving through things. All right, and it's a good sign that you're ready to, things are coming to the surface for you to move past. My last session, I actually threw up for 3 hours before my session, and then I stopped like 10 minutes before the session. I was like, okay, what was that? So we asked about it, and they said, we knew Matthew was going to move through this stuff, so we allowed him to clear it before the session so that he didn't puke during the session. We figured it would cause a physical response, so we took care of it beforehand. Okay, makes sense. So hopefully that gives you a little overview. Oh, I did forget to mention that this whole process can take, it takes as long as it takes. I don't rush it. Some people are like, oh, this takes 4 hours, 5 hours. I'd say average is probably 6 to 7 hours. But really it takes as long as it takes. Some take less, some take more time, but we take the time, and that's why we get the results that we do. And I don't rush it. Sometimes I only get one chance to work with a person, so we take that time, and that time is that person's for that time period. Okay, takes as long as it takes. These sessions can be kind of intense. Not gonna lie, but so you get the most out of it. If it's too much, you're never given more than you can handle. If it's too much, I get cut off. They're like this, they can't handle anymore. Okay, so yeah, you're never given more than you can handle. It may feel like drinking from a fire hose, but it's all for your highest good. This is your chance to move past it. So we take advantage of that. Okay, but that's also why we get the amazing results that we do. We have to dig through those layers sometimes. So, all right, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.